welcome once again to this lesson, my dear children. Thank you for following us on this program, and we appreciate you. We love you so much. Yesterday, we covered a lot. We looked at a number of things, and it was mainly about objectives for OAU being formed. We looked at the leaders, the organs in details. I know we may not exhaust everything, but I know what we had is enough for our level. And as you advance, you will come across a lot of work that you will get that will be good for you anyway. So today I specifically came to look at around 3 areas to conclude this issue of OAU, and that is the achievements. I remember I left with a question about achievements, and when we talk of achievements, we are meaning what OAU was able to accomplish as an organization, as concerning or pertaining to the reasons as to why it was put in place. Are there things for us to look at and be proud of as far as OAU is concerned? Definitely they are there. And as well, we shall also look at the shortcomings, the failures. You know, where there is a good, there is always a bad. So much as we are proud of certain things going well with the organization, but we are sure that there are certain things that didn't go well, which we shall term as failures of OAU. And lastly, we shall also look at the problems this organization encountered in our bid to achieve its objectives, in our bid to try to fulfill the mandate of its charter, or the reason as to why it was put in place. So allow me to start off with the achievements of OAU. Hope you did some work. I know you are good at doing that, and I know you did some work there. So today let's start by looking at the achievements of OAU. You can call them successes. Achievement number 1, we are saying OAU managed to eliminate colonialism by making African countries independent. It managed to eliminate, when you talk of eliminating, we are meaning colonialism. Much as our colonial masters are still controlling us in what we term as neocolonialism, we are saying direct colonialism stopped in Africa. And that was an effort brought about by the organization, by member countries working together in the body, in the organization called African Organization of African Unity. So point number 1, we are saying it managed That is something to be proud of as far as the Organization of African Unity is concerned. It was an effort brought about by all the member countries together, and they were able to help other countries that were still under direct colonialism to overcome that so-called pandemic, if I could term it. Point number 2, it managed to keep African countries, independent African countries, under one family, one big family. It wasn't easy. All African countries with their leaders had differing ideas, but the organization managed to bring them together and work together for their common good as Africans. So point number 2, we are saying it managed to keep the independent African countries under one big family. Remember, a country qualified to be a member of the organization if it was independent. That was an achievement for the organization, and we must be proud of that. Point next, we are saying it helped to settle border conflicts among member states. For instance, Libya and Chad. Remember, these countries had been under colonial masters that had made colonial boundaries. And in one way or the other, after these countries becoming independent, it became a problem where some tribes were separate, divided. So there were conflicts over land, there were conflicts over boundaries, but the organization managed to stand in and solve such mess or conflicts caused by the colonial masters. So we are saying it managed to settle border conflicts. Managed to settle border conflicts among member states. We can give an example, e.g. Libya and Chad. So just imagine what would happen if such a border was not in place. Wars would just escalate, wars would just increase, wars would just take place. So we are saying this organization being in place help to promote brotherly relationships, friendly relationships, that even when such conflicts emerged, member countries were able to get on board and solve their differences. Point next, help to set up the African Development Bank. We all know the importance of a bank, and by virtue from the point of being a development bank, it managed to fund development projects among member states. Talk of roads, talk of schools, and many other development ventures, of getting loans from the bank by member states. So point 4, we are saying it helped to set up the African Development Bank. That helped fund development projects among member member states. This is very crucial. So it promoted development among member states by giving loans to them to start or accomplish development projects like roads, dam construction, power dam constructions, irrigation farms, and many, many others. We're also saying it helped to fight and bring to an end the apartheid policy in South Africa. Remember, we looked at the apartheid policy whereby it was a policy that promoted separate development of races. Races, the blacks, the whites, were required to develop separately. But it was a selfish policy in that the whites, being advanced in capital, being advanced in machinery, intended to exploit Africans, to use them, to confine them, to limit them in their low levels of development. We are saying the organization managed to help South Africa by funding, by member countries coming in and condemning the evils of the apartheid policy, encouraging Africans to fight for their rights in South Africa. So that was a combined effort by the members in the organization. Point next, it helped to fight and bring to an end the apartheid. Policy in South Africa. So we realized that in 1994, that's when South Africa obtained or acquired majority rule, but it was a combined effort of the member countries in the organization. We're also saying in its achievement as well, the organization got a successor in the names of the African Union. So we are saying OAU gave birth to the formation of the African Union as an organization to continue its work and also to mend the failures of the organization. So she was a mother in one way or the other, in that she was able to, to have a successor in the names of the African Union. That is very serious, that is very good, that's an achievement for the organization that we have to celebrate or be proud of as Africans. So 6, I'm giving quite a number of points just because I want to have a lot to present in case you're required to present some. We are saying it gave birth. It gave birth to the African Union as a new organization for Africa. And it has also done a lot, as we shall discover later. We're also saying the organization helped to end civil wars in some African countries like Morocco, Sudan, Chad, Eritrea, though they later on escalated. But to some extent, we are saying help to mediate and end civil wars in some member countries. So by the time it was phased out, it was stopped, civil wars were still at its peak. But it intervened to try to provide some solutions. We are saying AJ Morocco, Chad, we have Sudan, Eritrea, etc. So it provided grounds for mediation to take place. And lastly, but not the least, we are saying it supported liberation movements in member states that were intended to fight and gain independence. That was paramount. So those are some of the achievements. Let me take you through these points. We are saying it managed to eliminate colonialism in Africa, hence it made African countries independent from their colonial masters. Take note of that. The word eliminate is to remove. So it meant to remove direct colonialism from Africa. Point next, we are saying it managed to keep the independent African countries under one big family. So Africa, we had the voice as one, not Uganda as one, not Kenya as one, but Africa as a continent. Point next, we are saying it managed to settle border conflicts among member states, e.g. Libya and Chad. Point next, we are saying help to set up the African Development Bank that help to fund development projects among member states, e.g. power dam constructions and many others. So it is possible that this kind of projects would not take place if such an organization with such an idea of a bank had not been set up. We're also saying to help to fight and bring to an end the apartheid policy in South Africa. We know how we learned about how apartheid was devoid, was dangerous to the African race. We are saying the African organization, the Organization of African Unity managed to come in and help Africans avert this kind of evil. We are saying to give birth to the African Union, give birth to the African Union. The African Union as an organization for Africa. We are also saying it helped to end civil wars. Helped to end civil wars in some member states, e.g. Morocco, Chad, Sudan, Eritrea, and many others. We are also saying it supported liberation movements in member states that were intended to gain independence. How? By encouraging people in those countries to fight for their independence, supplying them guns to fight, giving them financial support to fight for their independence, and many, many other ways. So those were some of the achievements that we are proud of as far as the Organization of African Unity is concerned. Now let us look at some of the failures of the organization. So failures of OAU. What are the shortcomings? What are some of the areas where it failed to perform to the expectation of the Africans? Number one, it failed to end military coups in Africa. It failed to end military coups in Africa. When we talk of military coups, we are meaning people taking over government, unelected government, or a legitimate government, a legal government, without following the proper procedures. Armed men gang up and overthrow a government, a legitimate government, a rightful government in power. Kill people, kill the leaders or imprison some of them, exile some of them, and they set up what we would term as a military government. So we are saying such cases were common at the time after independence. And these are some of the areas the OA was supposed to come in and solve, but it failed. And so many military governments at the time were established. Look at, we can give an example of Idi Amin Dada. He took over a legitimate government of Dr. Apple Milton Obote, and he established his military government that managed to be in existence for about 5-6 years. We are saying that was an area that OA as an organization failed as well. The other point is that it failed to end constant civil wars in some member states. Countries like DRC are still under constant civil wars. Some parts of DRC have not stabilized. Somalia has not stabilized, and many African countries are still suffering. Point number 2, we are saying it failed. And constant civil wars in Africa. DRC is an outstanding example of such countries that are still under civil wars. Fightings are still going on. South Sudan, that was initially part of Sudan, wars were still going on. That part of south of Sudan, which is the south, were not stable at all during the time of the reign of OAU. We are also saying to fail to end poverty and illiteracy in Africa. It failed to end poverty and illiteracy in Africa. Many of the African children in many African countries do not know how to read and write. That's illiteracy. Many people in African countries are still living under the poverty line. They cannot afford breakfast, lunch, supper. You see? Many of them cannot afford proper accommodation. Many of them cannot afford proper housing, proper, clean water, proper clothing. We are saying OA was mandated to bring to an end poverty. And by the time it was replaced, Africa or African countries were still under, many of them are still under the poverty line. We're also saying it failed to solve the refugee problem in Africa. So we are saying it failed. It failed to end the refugee problem in Africa. Failed to end the refugee problem in Africa. During his reign, many Africans were being displaced from their homes, chased from their homes because of militarism, because of wars, which the organization failed to solve or find a lasting solution to it. We're also saying it failed to end the debt burden of the African countries. Many African countries continued borrowing from international organizations like the IMF, World Bank, European Union, and those debts incurred or acquired or got had not been paid. Yet the organization was supposed to come in, set up a bank, and be able to provide loans to member countries. But then it failed in that area, and in one way or the other, Africans had to continue to be slaves to the outsiders. European Union, the World Bank, with so many accumulated debts, which is still a problem even up to date. We are saying it failed to set up an arm of its own to solve military conflicts. It failed to set up an army of its own to solve military conflicts. An army of its own provide continental peace, would help to solve to mediate peace, to prevent further conflicts. But the organization failed to come up with such, and we attribute it to be a point of its failure or weakness as well. I want us to end this part of OAU with the problems the organization faced. We cannot, our eyes can never go minus we cannot go minus looking at the problems the organization faced. Maybe it could have been the reason why it had so many failures as such. We can analyze yourselves and come up with a conclusion as well. So problems OAU faced. Point number one, it lacked a standby army of its own. It lacked a standby army of its own to solve political problems. That was the problem. That means even when there was a war that in a member state, it could not easily come in and solve such a problem. We're also saying the organization lacked enough funds. It lacked. So here we are, problems or AU first. Point number 1, we said lacked a standby arm of its own. Point 2, lacked enough funds to attend continental challenges. The third point, we are saying member states had different political ideas. Member states had differing political ideas. So at some point they could not work together. And lastly, interference from developed countries. Interference from developed countries. So they still tend to dictate the affairs of these poor countries simply because they are still their funders on so many development projects. For now, I want us to stop there, and I felt we should conclude the OAU affairs like that. Tomorrow when we meet, God willing, I want us to begin with the formation of African Union, and I pray that you go on and do some reading about it, get to know the year of its formation, get to know about the leader that suggested AU formation, get to know about the city where the meeting of its launching took place, and so many other things. Thank you for following. May the Lord bless you. As far as lesson 6 is concerned, we meet the next lesson.